Roseman on the bud list.
Wow.
Now let me make this clear. I love Makai Lemon. I think that is a great pick. I agree with what Coach said about identifying an issue and going to go get it. To get Makai Lemon, they used the 23rd pick, the 114th, and the 137th in order to move up to 20 to get him. They just last week or a week before traded the 153rd pick and a 6th rounder for Dontavian Wicks. They also, of course, signed Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore. So that means the last month or so, in addition to signing those two players, they've spent a first, 2 fourths, a fifth, and a sixth on a wide receiver because they know they're trading A.J. Brown. Here's the thing. They have not yet traded A.J. Brown. Now, I know they're doing it June 1st for cap purposes. Got it, no problem. But yesterday's price is not necessarily today's price. And if I am the team on the other end of that negotiation, whether it be the Patriots or anyone else, when Howie Roseman calls me, on May 31st, be like, hey, we doing this, or I'll be like, you know about that. As it turns out, next year's one, not on the table anymore, my friend. We'd still like the player, but we'd like to reopen those negotiations. Now, you might say that might be a little unethical. That's not how it's done. I don't know. I think if I'm the Patriots, I'm like, well, things are changing over here. He has a good relationship with our head coach. We're going to slow everything down. And I don't know what Howie's supposed to do. Because at this point, he has to trade A.J. Brown. Everyone knows he has to trade A.J. Brown. And you can have handshake deals all you want, but it's not a done deal. And he is.
Handshake is where I'm from.
Well, is it
oddly? Okay.
It's like what the Ravens situation. Now they said it was the physical or whatever, but Coach, how
that was just cold feet.
Common is something like that?
If you can fail a guy on a physical at any point.
But A.J. Brown, there's a handshake.
It's like, hey, on June 1st, we're going to trade you a next year's first for this.
Well, it's one of those things where Howie Roseman's going to be around for a long time. And you continually have to do business with teams throughout the course of your time in the league. So if you establish yourself as someone who says, okay, we're going to do this, and then you don't do it, and the next time maybe it's not even the Eagles, it's someone else that you're trying to get a deal with under the same pretext, they're going to be like, oh, hold on, you didn't really hold up your end of the bargain. And the other thing I'll say, the difference now could be that as we get to June 1st and everybody sees their draft picks and they're running around a little bit and you've got a better sense of what you have and what you don't have, there may be another team that says, okay, that's great that you got that deal. I'm going to give you more for that.
Well, that speaks.
That's
hold
not
on.
fair.
Now,
what
exactly.
about our handshake?
Right. But that speaks to my point. Let's say they do have a handshake deal with the Patriots. We're giving you the 2027 one. Does anybody think that if between now and then the Rams were like, oh my God, Stafford's super pissed, we got to do something, and the Rams called up the Eagles, were like, hey, we'll give you the 2027 one and a third, that the Eagles would be like, sorry.
Right.
Deals. So if they could in this time get a better offer, then it's certainly within the Patriots' rights within this time to lower their offer.
All right. Folks, oh my goodness. There's this concept called business ethics. And when you're somebody like Howie Roseman, when you're genuinely a well-operated franchise, and you have a proven, repeated history of constructing strong teams, and you collaborate with other organizations to get deals done, there's a reason the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles made a trade. Because they understand, yeah, man, this is just business. This is simply how things function. You need to maintain these relationships. This is the way it gets accomplished. So, if Howie Roseman truly has an informal handshake agreement with the New England Patriots, and then the Los Angeles Rams come in and say, hey, we'll give you even more compensation, Howie Roseman understands the long-term picture. He knows, that's not how this operates. We already finalized this understanding with the Patriots. I'm not going to put them in a difficult spot because there will come a time when I need to negotiate with the New England Patriots again. Maybe we'll want to move up in the draft, or whatever the case may be. That's how this system works. And there is zero leverage. Absolutely zero leverage being surrendered by the Philadelphia Eagles. That notion is comically, hilariously ridiculous. As this entire situation has unfolded, if anything, the Eagles' position has only strengthened. When you look at all the trades and selections that have been made, whether it's Jalen Waddle, Dexter Lawrence, DJ Moore, whatever, Trent McDuffie, when you see what everybody else is giving up, trading away Quez Watkins isn't that. And Nick going through all the picks, saying, well, they traded this pick and that pick and that pick. The reality is the Eagles were absolutely flush with draft capital. Colin kept saying it, and he's correct. With all those picks, there isn't enough roster space on the team. So they don't actually need those selections. They had too many picks. They don't need them. They don't have enough open spots on the roster. Those picks are essentially monopoly money. Literally monopoly money. So no, the Eagles don't have to do anything right now that they don't want to do. I told you all this from the very beginning. The Eagles are in full control. And people want A.J. Brown, whether it's the Rams, whether it's the Patriots. Those teams aren't going to say, well, we're not giving you a first-round pick. My response is, yeah, okay, sure. A.J. Brown, you're not offering a first-round pick now. Sure. Whatever you say. That's laughable. Of course they are. And that's a steal for the Eagles. A complete steal. This is the advantage and the benefit of moving on from a player. They used him for 4 years. They got maximum production. They reached 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. And now they're receiving a first-round pick in return. That is incredible. Honestly incredible. You maximize a player's output, and then when you part ways with him, you get a first-round pie. CK back? I mean, that's exactly what you need to do. That's how you maximize your return. When people talk about moving on from a player a little too early, the idea is you save money and you don't end up paying for their declining years. But no, if you can trade them, it's a huge advantage. Next year, the Eagles will have 2 first-round picks. And yet they are already reworking that young, ascending core, first on defense and now gradually on offense. They can use that capital to their advantage, perhaps for offensive line production, or however they see fit. It ends up being a massive advantage. Especially if the Patriots aren't good and that pick ends up being higher in the order. Even if it's not, still great, especially because next year is supposed to be a quarterback-heavy draft, and everybody always wants a quarterback. So, to have multiple selections in a quarterback-heavy draft, that, my friends, is power. Genuine power. Imagine if the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants had 2 picks in this year's draft, with 5 quarterbacks coming off the board. Oh my gosh, the players they would be getting, literally the best positional talent. Any team that didn't want to trade up for a quarterback, right? Well, then the Arizona Cardinals want to trade with me, but they want a quarterback. So even if you trade back, you're just maximizing, and maximizing, and maximizing. So the idea that the Eagles are losing leverage here is just, I love it. I guess the Eagles can never win. Tioch. That's what's so funny to me. This is what's genuinely hilarious to me. There are certain teams that simply can do no wrong. I made a Kansas City Chiefs video, and I said I wasn't crazy about their draft. I wanted them to go offense. I said that from the very beginning. I've been shouting that since way before any mock draft existed. I kept saying, I want Patrick Mahomes to get that next elite playmaker. Now, all of a sudden, the offense is great. Everybody has been complaining and crying about the offense not being good enough, and the offensive line, and this and that. And now, suddenly, when I say, yeah, I think they should go out and get an offensive piece, they respond, oh, it's perfect. It's fine. They don't need it. And I'm thinking, you told me they did. What are you talking about? Then people will come after me and say, you just hate everything the Chiefs did. And I respond, what are you talking about? When the Chiefs took a swing in last year's draft, when they selected a player who was injured, I said, I love it. I praised it. I said it was great. I said, this is such a great swing for them. And it's really minimal risk because of where they're drafting, and the potential that if it ends up being a hit, they're essentially getting a top 2 or top 3 pick. I praised it. I didn't say anything negative. I praised it. So just because I don't love what they did this year, does that automatically mean I'm looking at it through a filtered, biased lens? That's absurd. And now coming to the Eagles, it's the same thing. All of a sudden, Howie Roseman doesn't know how to do business. Right? That's essentially what we're going to say now. Now we're going to question the ultimate businessman general manager. Now we're going to question his ability to operate in an ethical and productive way. Really? No. The Eagles actually have an unbelievable reputation, which is why teams are always willing to make deals with them. Despite what people want to invent in the comment sections or in the media, the Eagles are insanely well respected. They are not hated. There's no weird, random bad blood like with Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur where they don't like each other. And it's like, okay, sure, whatever. That's cool. What are you, 15 years old? The Eagles operate at a high level, and they work with other teams that operate at a high level, and they do business with each other while taking advantage of the bad teams. That's kind of how this works. And Howie Roseman isn't going to think, ooh, I'm going to pit the Rams against the Patriots now, ooh. We don't know what type of discussions they've had. They might have simply said, hey, we're just going to wait until June 1st. Maybe it's an official handshake deal. Maybe it's, hey, I'll trade him to you, but there's a lot going on. Who knows how the conversations have unfolded with some of these other moves? We have no idea. So you don't have any actual information, but you're confident. The Eagles' leverage is evaporating? What? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. I knew these conversations would happen. I called it when we were live streaming. I said, oh, they got Mikael Lemon, and it's going to be really interesting because everybody wanted him for the Rams. And now with A.J. Brown, this is juicy. This is the one pick that's going to be really interesting because you all loved Mikael Lemon with the Rams. And now everyone said A.J. Brown is leaving, and then they trade and draft a wide receiver in the first round. What's the story here? What's the real story? And it's interesting to me that there aren't actual grounded, normal Eagles takes like, oh yeah, they drafted Mikael Lemon, they traded up, they did this. Instead, it's all about everything else beyond that. Everything beyond the actual football move. And it's like, alright. Those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Philadelphia Eagles losing leverage? And now Howie Roseman is under duress. He's on the bud list. I've been hearing rumors. I've got an insider, and they're telling me the Eagles are really upset with Howie Roseman. I was told he's uncoachable. He's difficult to work with. He can't see the middle of the field. He refuses to throw 50-50 balls. I know, it's crazy. I was like, Howie Roseman can't see the middle of the field? And they said, yeah, he's too small. And I said, does that matter for a GE? General manager? And they said, yeah, apparently so. He needs to be able to see over the offensive lineman. And I was like, but how does that make sense? And they said, dude, it just is. I didn't realize that, honestly. I didn't know that. And I said, and a GM needs to be coachable? And they said, yeah, for sure. I don't know. I didn't follow Howie Roseman very well in college. So I don't really know what his track record was in college. It's a little confusing. I heard they wanted him to change positions, but then everyone kind of freaked out about that. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Kind of hard to keep track. But let me know your thoughts. I'll read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you as part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.